What up, you guys? Good morning. Good morning. So, I just woke up. You guys could tell. Let me go get different view. Anyway, yeah. Good morning, all my crew. I just woke up. So, today we are doing. Something else a little bit different. You could see. You could see by the title. Um, we're looking up like different. Looking up this, so like different stories about stuff. So yeah, we're gonna look up something today. So it's like different crimes, not crimes, like mysteries, like I think, or if you think it's true or not. Very, very interesting. Um, okay. So it's like different, not crimes, but I mean like, sorry, I mean like I don't know. I forgot. Like different story that you think it's true and you're thinking about it. That's what I meant. But we're doing that today. So don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe. 18 plus only. All my YouTube channel, Wayne Decker live channel, Wayne Decker rapping, and a Wayne Decker games. So. 18 plus only, and I do know on Thursday, whatever, what day, I do know I am doing my hair back over again. I need to do it, see, so I'm excited about that. So, doing it way before I go to the party, so I'm very excited about that. I'm going to like a baby shower over there. So, not even gonna cut my hair or anything, so I'm gonna keep my hair long. I'm a woman, so I'm not like a man, so we should do my hair every freaking day. I was just talking to mom about that. But but yeah, get ready for this. It's gonna be very interesting. And let's do it. I'd be like back. I gotta go do something anyway, but enjoy.
Really? Check out his resume. Been driving forklift longer than you've been alive.
Mike Pallet?
It's Palais.
Oh.
I believe he's French.
These conspiracy theories are going viral on TikTok right now. So we've speculated about Justin Bieber being a victim of P. Diddy for a while, because if you didn't know, Justin Bieber was raised in the industry, specifically by Usher and Diddy. Like, they both took him under their wings. And obviously now, knowing what we know about P. Diddy and Usher, who is publicly defending Diddy, that is concerning to know that they were spending time with Justin Bieber when he was just a child. So there have been a lot of speculations as to whether or not Justin is a victim of Diddy. I think a lot of people point to the Yummy music video and claim that this is him trying to expose the industry. They also just correlate Justin's behavior overall with the abuse that he potentially faced at the hands of maybe Diddy and Usher. So an Epstein survivor, model Barbara Stoyanov, actually spoke out and made some claims about Justin Bieber that are pretty insane, but also kind of corroborate what we've been thinking, and also the stuff that Suge Knight has said about the whole situation.
I had a friend that told me when he was in Canada after his show, they were planning to leave Canada to Los Angeles on a private jet, and it was taking off at 7 a.m. in the morning. So her nieces and nephews went to go see Justin Bieber perform the night before, and they got backstage, and Justin goes, "Hey, where are you from?" They go, "We're from LA." He goes, "Oh, are you going back?" And they go, "Yeah, you could just jump on our jet back tomorrow morning. We're leaving at, 6, 7 a.m. So Justin goes, "Fine, I'll meet you there." So they go there. They're running a little bit early. They go show up early, and they get on their plane, and Justin Bieber is there.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. So they turned around. She got on the plane first, and before the children got on there, she turned around. She goes, "Okay, we're going back down to the car now. We're going back down to the car now," because she didn't want them to see him doing that.
Which ties into what Suge Knight told us. Suge Knight alleged that Diddy broke Bieber in, let's say, and then pimped him out to executives who Bieber would go on vacation with, just Bieber and a male executive, to these different places around the world. And when we put that out there, people were shocked and surprised, and some people found it hard to believe. But from what you're saying, you're kind of corroborating that as well.
It was after his concert.
So I don't know. I do think that there could be truth to this. Not that there's literally anything wrong with if Justin Bieber wanted to be gay. Obviously, I'm here. I'm queer and I'm used to it, okay? I just think that the secret of it is weird to me. And I think that that is corresponding with some of the things that...
Imagine being able to build anything just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44, a complete AI creation platform made for anyone with an idea. And it
P. Diddy was doing with Usher, with allegedly Justin Bieber. Basically, all of this said is this further proof that Justin really was groomed by P. Diddy. I don't know. I mean, it could just be a coincidence. People also specifically point to this video of Justin Bieber and Odell Beckham Jr. at a P. Diddy party where people think that Justin was doing something to Odell Beckham Jr. I don't know. It's literally in public, but at the same time, it's at a P. Diddy party. So if that were to happen anywhere in public, I feel like a P. Diddy party kind of makes sense. I don't know. I want to know what you guys think about this because I do feel like this is a thing in the industry, very hardcore with these men who want to be with other men, which obviously there's literally nothing wrong with that. But they're secretive and weird about it. And it seems like people like Diddy kind of groom people maybe like Justin or Usher even, because Usher was a kid when him and Diddy became friends as well. And groom them into this lifestyle of thinking it is normal to be having these relations in front of other people, in public, at parties and at events, and just doing crazy shit in public in regards to sexual things. And I do think to an extent, it probably is true or has some truth to it. But I really want to hear your guys' thoughts because I seriously do not understand this. I don't understand. I think it is because a lot of them are hooking up with children, which is obviously why they keep it secret, because that's illegal and disgusting. But I do think that there is a creepier overall tone of the P. Diddy trial after seeing and hearing some of these stories. Obviously, we now know that Diddy has been accused of essaying a child actor in 2007, which actor remains a John Doe. But at this point, I would not be surprised. And I do think that Justin Bieber was obviously raised in that kind of environment, which I think bare minimum we can say with definitive proof that Justin Bieber experienced things around Diddy and Usher as a child that he should not have been seeing. That point blank, obviously. But I want to hear your thoughts. So something that a lot of people are talking about this week is the tragic passing of Oliver Tree. Oliver Tree passed away over the weekend in a very tragic helicopter crash, and a lot of people have conspiracy theories about why this may have happened. So what a lot of people don't know is that Oliver Tree tried to expose his former record company, Atlantic Records, for basically not treating him right, not giving him like the respect he deserved as an artist. And shortly after this, he suddenly passes away. And it's definitely made a lot of people question whether or not this was truly an accident.
I just got word that my album is no longer coming out. Love You Madly, Hate You Badly is officially canceled, and I'm parting ways with Atlantic Records. Behind the scenes has been nothing short of a nightmare.
I literally saw this video like 3 days ago, and I was like, music industry at it again. This is the musician that sings that song, Life Goes On and On and On and On. I'm sure you've heard it, okay? Amongst other songs, but that's like one noticeable one. And then I found out today that he died in a helicopter crash. I'm not saying this is a conspiracy or anything like that. I'm just saying that's where my mind goes. Not everything is a conspiracy, okay? I'm well aware that not everything is a conspiracy. It's just when things happen like this in the way that they happen, sometimes it fuels the conspiratorial mindset, the conspiratorial shenanigans. That's all I'm saying. Because I think about these industries and stuff, like there's so much money involved that if somebody wanted to do something, they could do it, and you could probably get away with it because nobody would know. It's hard to trace it back, and it sounds so far-fetched. So all I'm saying is I can't prove it, nor can I disprove it. But the timing is definitely weird.
So I agree completely. I do think that the timing of this is really, really strange. And a lot of people are pointing out that there are several different celebrities who have passed away that were working with Atlantic Records at the time of their death. And this is all allegedly, by the way. I'm not saying Atlantic Records had anything to do with any of these celebrities passing away, but there are a lot of conspiracy theories around it. Specifically, Aaliyah is another huge one because she obviously also died in a plane crash, and Aaliyah did not want to get on that plane. I think that's like the most important thing to take away from that plane crash is that Aaliyah was refusing to get on the plane. The only reason she got on the plane was because she took what she thought was a headache medication, and it was a sleeping pill, and they basically sedated her and took her on the plane without her knowledge, which is obviously incredibly messed up. But I don't know if I necessarily think it is the specific Atlantic Records in either of these cases. People are also pointing at Mac Miller, but there's no like evidence that Mac or Aaliyah or some of the other artists I've seen people throw conspiracy theories about. There's no like evidence that they were actually leaving Atlantic Records. So that's the part to me that I'm like, I don't know if I necessarily believe it. But either way, obviously this is a very horrible tragedy. And it really actually kind of reminds me of Michael Jackson because he is someone who actually was speaking out against his record label. Now, it wasn't Atlantic Records. We all know it was Sony. But he was very vocal about this prior to his death and even claimed that he knew that the people of the music industry, I guess whatever that means to you, Illuminati, I don't know, were out to get him because they wanted his catalog.
Shop the new arrivals by Ashley Luxe, where practical prices meet premium style, like plush boucle upholstery, warm French oak, and high-quality leather made for the spaces you live in most. Shop Ashley Luxe in-store and online.
You had the Beatles catalog, and obviously his catalog is nuts. And of course, it was worth more in death than it was in life. And it makes a lot of people wonder how many of these musicians that die in these like tragic, sudden ways, is there a conspiracy theory? Is there some sort of a pattern here that these record labels, not only if the person is leaving the record label, so like we know with Oliver Tree or even Biggie Smalls, that's a big conspiracy theory as well, is that he was trying to leave Bad Boy Records, which is why allegedly P. Diddy had him taken out. So even if they're not leaving, does the record label see incentive on having these people die because their catalogs become worth more after their death? Obviously, that's just the way that it works. Like Oliver Tree is like in the top 10 on Spotify right now because he passed away. And it's like just a natural thing that happens. People want to listen once something tragic happens. It's just the truth. But I want to hear your guys' thoughts on this because I feel like there definitely is a pattern here. I don't know if it's necessarily every single time that something tragic like this happens to specifically a musician, because they are the ones who are worth so much money in death. Like, it's actually insane. It is very crazy, especially when I think about how much other people who have profited off of like Michael Jackson's death. It just almost sounds stupid to assume that they didn't want him dead. You know, like he would have never made that much money in life. And that's just the truth of life. Like, I don't know. Same with like Elvis Presley. It goes on, but I want to hear your thoughts, and rest in peace to Oliver Tree and all of the other people involved in this horrible crash. All right, the next conspiracy theory I want to talk about has to do with Jim Carrey. So I have been researching some old blind items about Jim Carrey that have to do with the fact that he allegedly is part of some like Hollywood sex cult. That sounds literally so insane, but there's like several blind items about it. And when you look at some of his like past relationships, it kind of adds up a little bit, but all alleged, obviously. I mean, the Jim Carrey Grinch is like actually my favorite movie of all time. So take it with a grain of salt, but that doesn't mean that this can't be true. Allegedly, he used Ariana Grande to source young women to be like a part of this cult with him, which I don't know if this is true, but I found it incredibly interesting, and we'll talk about why in a second, but let's read the items. So in June of 2020, Blind Item says, the former A+ list mostly movie actors using...
All right. So it's a very interesting. So I'm gonna mute my...
his relationship with the A+ list singer to lure in women to participate in some self-realization type thing. It sounds like a way for him to have a lot of sex with a lot of different women. And this was revealed to be about Jim Carrey and Ariana Grande, which if you don't know, Ariana Grande is one of Jim Carrey's biggest fans ever. She has been obsessed with him since she was a child. Like, her literal email as a child used to be Jim Carrey fan 42. So like, the girl is down bad for him. But I don't know if she would even realize that that was what she was being used for in this situation. And there's a lot of blind items from that timeline of like 2020, 2019 that allege that Jim Carrey and Ariana were hooking up, which is something I definitely believe. Like, even though he was like either married or in a relationship at that time, I would not be surprised at all if they were actually hooking up, but that's just my thoughts. Then this other blind item came out. It talks about celebrity cults in general, and we talk a little bit about Jared Leto and Scientology, etc. in here. But then we get to the interesting part of it, which is Jim Carrey using Ariana Grande to recruit young women for this cult. The blind item reads, come on down because the cults are having a competition for recruits. I have already told you that the mainstay cult is having trouble finding lots of younger members to replace the ones who have already donated hundreds of millions of dollars, which I'm assuming that part is about Scientology. I have told you about the group that has done the best job replacing them by finding young people with huge social media followings and then giving them perks and percentages of offerings and VIP status. And that has been working really well for that group. But let us move beyond that. Let us look at a smaller, more sex-driven cults where it is all about loyalty and finding people who are willing to give up their lives to become a sex slave who is also willing to make you money. In both cults I am going to write about, the money thing has been removed. Neither of these cult leaders need money. They only want sex slaves, loyal sex slaves to worship their egos in other parts of their anatomy. One of these leaders, who I have recently mentioned, really has a leg up on recruiting. He is an actor/singer. This is about Jared Leto, allegedly, and convenient absentee from a recent reunion because of his following and what he does. And he has people loyal to him, but doesn't know for quite some time after they join him whether they will be a sex slave. So how did he get a few? He landed a few when his competition decided to quit for a bit. And now we move on to Jim Carrey, allegedly. So this former A+ list, mostly movie actor, had a religion. I wrote about it many years ago. He had a small group of followers. There were maybe half a dozen that lived with him and took care of him and give up everything to be with him. When he ended up getting a girlfriend several years back, he reluctantly let them go. They drifted around together as a group for a while. A couple left, but there were 3 that stuck together until about 18 months ago when they were discovered by the actor/singer. They became his base and he could have them help his recruiting. Interestingly enough, he doesn't have sex with those 3 because they are way over 20 to 21, which is kind of his cutoff, obviously disgusting, but they are good at finding the ages that he does like. When our former A+ list actor decided to get back in the game, he needed someone he could help find him young, devoted female fans who would come flocking. Enter the A-list singer who has been extremely valuable with getting the former A+ lister in front of an entirely new group of people. He has used those new fans to find 2 women to be his starter and help him recruit several more. And again, this is allegedly all about Scientology, Jared Leto, and Jim Carrey and Ariana Grande. I don't know if any of this is true, but it is crazy. It is crazy. I don't know how I missed those blind items in 2020. I think I was just so focused on the ones about Ariana and Jim Carrey hooking up. Like that part, I was just like, oh my God. I didn't even see these cult ones. I didn't even see them. What the hell is that? What do you mean? And honestly, like, it doesn't surprise me that much. Like, I really don't think that this is that crazy, and I could see this totally being a thing. But something that really weirds me out here still has to do with Ariana and Jim Carrey, and it's specifically about him being some sort of a, not drug dealer, but like, it's kind of sounding like Manson family vibes, maybe without the murder though, hopefully, allegedly, okay? In November of 2020, this one was revealed almost an entire year later, over an entire year later, because this was written in August of 2019. And it said, of course, the former A+ list, mostly movie actor loves this A-list singer. They hooked up and she kissed his ass and took his drugs. And again, allegedly, Jim Carrey and Ariana Grande. I, again, don't know if it's true, but I do think something that is interesting is that there was a woman who dated Jim Carrey and she passed away and her family filed a wrongful death lawsuit against the actor. So in September of 2015, Catriona White, who is an Irish makeup artist, and her and Jim Carrey were very on again, off again, but she passed away of a prescription drug overdose in Los Angeles. It was ruled that she took her own life, but her family never believed that. In 2016, her family ended up filing a wrongful death lawsuit against Jim Carrey, claiming that Jim illegally supplied Catriona with prescription painkillers like Ambien, Oxycodone, and Percocet, and provided them by using like a fake name to like get these drugs, and that ended up leading to her fatal overdose. Jim Carrey strongly denies these allegations. He said that it was just like a heartless attempt to exploit him, and he filed a countersuit against the family, but ultimately all of this was dropped. But something that I do find interesting that was released from this is that in 2013, Catriona wrote one of these notes like to Jim Carrey, and I just feel like it paints him in such that aligns more with like the things that these blind items are saying than I would like it to, because I get Jim Carrey. I've loved Jim Carrey for many years, but I don't know. This is just crazy. So in 2013, Catriona wrote, "Before you, I might not have had very much, but I had respect. I was a happy person. I loved life. I was confident. I felt good in my skin and was proud of most decisions I made. I met you. You introduced me to cocaine, prostitutes, mental abuse, and disease. You did good things for me, but being with you broke me down as a person, Jim. I was promised Jekyll and instead I got Hyde. Because I loved you, I would have stuck out Hyde all year and done everything he wanted to be with Jekyll for 5 of those, but you threw me away when you absorbed anything worthwhile that was left of me." And this is written by Catriona White. So I just feel like, I mean, the drugs, the prostitutes, like what the fuck? But is Jim Carrey part of a sex cult? Like, does he have one? Like, I just feel like I'm so perplexed by this, and I'm confused how I've never heard about this. Like, I feel like most of the conspiracy theories I hear about Jim Carrey are like about him on Jimmy Kimmel, like trying to like expose the Illuminati, and like he like does like the all mocking tone, whatever. And of course the theory that he's a clone with like his most recent outing where everyone was just like, who the hell is that? But this is like a whole nother level that I have not heard, and I am so confused by it, and I feel like it could really use a deep dive. I think celebrity cults in general could use a deep dive, because I do think that it is common for them to start these religions or practices that like ultimately are just extorting their fans for weird shit. But please let me know what you think and let me know if you've heard of this because I honestly did not know until now. Speaking of blind items, a more recent one came out about ex-Prince Andrew that a lot of people are talking about. So this was revealed to be about him on June 12th, but it was written in May. And it says, they won't say it out loud, but there have been multiple dead bodies discovered on the land where the disgraced royal used to live. Plus, the police have been holding on to multiple videos from a decade ago where the disgraced royal was filmed without his knowledge in a hotel room with underage girls while in a foreign country. They were used to blackmail him, and this is allegedly about ex-Prince Andrew. So I want to know what they're referring to here because it made me think of two different things. Like, first of all, there have been a lot of conspiracy theories that there are bodies buried at Jeffrey Epstein's Zorro Ranch property. That is like kind of a common known thing, and Prince Andrew did spend some time there, so I don't know if they're referring to that or even more interestingly, because what the fuck would this mean if they are referring to the Royal Lodge, like where Prince Andrew...
What makes your heart beat? A Silverado that works as hard as you do? A Blazer as big as your adventure?
lived. I kind of think the way that it's worded, I'm leaning more towards the Royal Lodge. So who's buried there and why? What the hell's happening? Obviously, we haven't heard any evidence of this on the news, but the fact that the police allegedly have these videos of Prince Andrew with underage girls and are not actually using them to incarcerate him, but instead are using them to extort him and blackmail him checks out a lot. I feel like that does make a lot of sense. Unfortunately, I do think that there is something so corrupt about the fact that it is so obvious Prince Andrew is guilty of disgusting things. I mean, it has been investigated for such a long time, and the thing that he was arrested for was like divulging information about the royal family, like to Jeffrey Epstein. He wasn't even arrested actually in relation to crimes with Jeffrey Epstein, which is sick and twisted. So obviously there are people protecting him. I think that that is a known thing at this point. I feel like with the release of the Epstein files and seeing how there are so many different people who are involved with this shit that are not being held accountable for it at all, just goes to show that there is clearly some sort of conspiracy here and people are being protected. I think at the end of the day, that has gotten so obvious. It's been something us conspiracy theorists have been shouting from the rooftops forever about, like in regards to Tupac and Biggie, like their cases are so clear cut, but why have the people not been arrested? The reason is because the system is so corrupt. I think it's like way worse than we can even like conceptualize. But I truly do feel like the Epstein files in general really does point at the fact that this is a true thing, that this is happening, because once again, Prince Andrew is just doing his own thing. I guess he got a slap on the wrist and is no longer technically a prince. And by that, I mean just his title was stripped. He has every other fucking right, which is obviously so sick and twisted. But I want to hear your guys' thoughts on this. Do you think that they're referring to Zorro Ranch or the Royal Lodge or somewhere else that Prince Andrew lived? I want to know. I really want to know your guys' thoughts. If you think that there are bodies buried at the Royal Lodge, because at Zorro Ranch, we can assume that those were Jeffrey Epstein's like trafficking victims. Who is buried at the Royal Lodge? That's what I want to know, because what the hell? But let me know your thoughts. Okay, so this video of Shakira came out and it's just not her. It's just not her. I don't know what else to say. I don't even think it's a clone or plastic surgery. I literally think that this is like not Shakira at all. Like this is a body double. It's clearly not her. And I'm so confused as to how more people aren't talking about it.
They got her. They got Shakira, y'all, and this one is so blatantly obvious. As Shakira has done repeatedly, she was part of the opening ceremony for the World Cup in Mexico City, and she came out, performed a new song, and was dancing. And people said, no, there is no way this is her. Just look at the face.
Crap, you guys, this is but holy shit, let's see what else going on.
There are too many things going on with this face that do not look like the original Shakira. The face shape is wrong. Her face looks extremely bloated. This is more than aging. This is more than just somebody getting work done. Not to mention the dancing. People have said this was really low energy dancing for her. This didn't come across like the professional great performances she typically puts on. For example, this was in 2014 where she performed at the World Cup pregnant, and she even looks entirely different here than what we're seeing now. Then they raced to get her out of there very quickly. They raced her on and they raced her off, and people are saying this just doesn't look like her. So was it a body double?
Guys, and people in the comments are saying that this is Blue Ivy, and I'm like, at first, like when I read that comment, I thought it was insane, but now I can't really unsee it. And it does low-key look like Shakira is like putting on super pale makeup, like even for Shakira, like the way that she looks is not right.
The gold is real, but so is the danger.
Come on, baby.
Shakira may not have attended the World Cup opening ceremony, and the person who appeared on stage was allegedly her lookalike, Rebecca Milano Wright, after the performance. Many viewers expected a powerful Shakira entrance, but instead the reaction was unusually muted. That silence turned into speculation, with people insisting the woman on stage did not look like her at all. Several details fueled the debate. Throughout the performance, she kept dark sunglasses on the entire time, which is unusual for Shakira in major live shows where her facial expressions are normally visible. In close-up shots, she never removed them. Viewers pointed out differences in facial structure and expression compared to her known public appearances. They claimed her face
glasses on the entire time was such a big event. I don't really know why Shakira glasses on the entire time was such a big event. I don't really know why Shakira would need a body double. I don't really know. I don't know I don't have an explanation for this, and I don't have an explanation for as to why Blue Ivy would be dressing up like Shakira. But at the end of the day, that's just not Shakira. It's just not. I want to hear your guys' thoughts because what the hell? All right, the next conspiracy theory I want to talk about is this girl made a video about a glitch in the Matrix that she personally experienced that I literally cannot stop thinking about, okay? I would go in fucking sane if this happened to me, because truly the only explanation for this is that she's lying, and I honestly don't believe that she is lying. So like, therefore, is it proving that we have parallel universes? Like, honestly, maybe, and I hate it, and I feel like shit like this happens all of the time. I see so many TikToks about it, Reddit stories, etc. But there's something about this story and like the physical evidence in it that just really freaks me out.
Okay, so apparently it is my turn to share a glitch in the Matrix, unfortunately. So these are my car keys, obviously, and on my car keys is this tattered old keychain. It used to be rainbowed. It used to be very cute. It used to have 5 strands instead of 4. You can see it's like tattered. A friend made this for me in the summer of 2024 before she moved away. She lives 3 hours away. I have not seen her since she left. Since then, I've had it on my keychain, and when I reach into my bag and pull my keys out, I can feel this. That is my tactile clue that those are my keys. And so I pull it out and said, you want to tell me why? I reached into my bag and I felt my beaded keychain, and I pull out a keychain, but there's no keys because it's this fucking thing. What the fuck is this? Where did it come from? Okay, so let's investigate. Let's do a little bit more backstory. This friend gave it to me in a unique way because we also were colleagues at the time, and we were both quitting our jobs for different reasons within a week and a half of each other. And she had her last day before mine. So on her very last day, as she's leaving the employee parking lot for the last time, she ties on the door handle of my car the little keychain. Here's a picture of what it looked like then. And it's not like she gave me 2. She gave me 1 because it was tied to the door handle. So there's that. This bag. This bag is a member's bag from the Chicago Art Institute. I got it when I renewed my membership this year, a couple of months ago. This bag did not exist when she was here. So she would have never had access to like put a second one in the bag or like, no. There was no way that she had access to this bag. Has she been back since and she's just fucking with me and like dropping one in there to be whimsy to say, hey, I'm back? No, because I only take this bag to work and home. And I just started this new job last week. And I haven't even told very many people that I started a new job, let alone where I work. So she wouldn't have had access to me to know where it is. And it's always on my person. So, no, she didn't do that. And it's oddly specific. Like the structure is exactly the same. Like the knots are the same, the bead sizes are the same, the like 2 hoops are the same. These knots are like very specific. So it's the same. Nobody made a dupe to fuck with me. Like nobody in my house would have, because I have young children, and if they had beads in the house, I would know it because they'd make a fucking mess. And like, no, I didn't do this because, you see how fucking small this is? See how fucking small that is? I have ADHD. I don't have that kind of ADHD. I have the hummingbird kind of ADHD. That I cannot sit and focus on this. So, where the fuck did this come from? Make it make sense.
So I would literally go insane if this happened to me. I just feel like, again, there's...
You got that. You got not crazy. If I got that bead on my subscribers or something, that would be nuts, because I would be going crazy too, because I can't do that stuff either. So, but that freaking crazy, like nuts. I wouldn't, oh my gosh, holy shoot, I would go insane.
No explanation. She later said that she reached out to her friend, and her friend is even confused as to where the hell this came from, because she was like, I didn't make that. I didn't put an extra one anywhere to like mess with you or whatever. And also at the end of the day, like the other one is so like withered down. It's strange that this one exists in its perfect condition. I just don't get it. And I guess because like it's not on her keys, so it's not like being handled every single day. But where the fuck did it come from? Why did it get into a bag that she just bought? And I don't like that. I don't like it. I don't know. I feel like, does it prove that there is a glitch in the Matrix, or that there are more parallel universes? And again, does that explain the Mandela effects? Shit, honestly, maybe. I wonder what I'm doing in a parallel universe right now. Truthfully, the only explanation here is that she's lying, and I believe her story. So therefore, I don't like it. I don't. And again, if this happened to you, how the hell do you explain it? How do you keep living life as if nothing happened? Because I would think about that every second of every day. And I want to hear your guys' personal stories, because I know so many people have experienced things like this. So let us know in the comments below. All right, the last thing I want to talk about has to do with the dark truth behind Mr. Beast. So Mr. Beast is somebody I've been thinking about for quite some time at this point. I think that there has been a lot of conspiracy theories surrounding him, but I saw this girl make a video who is claiming to be a victim of MK Ultra, making this video about Mr. Beast, and it kind of just led me down a rabbit hole of crazy shit that he's done, and I just like didn't really know a lot of it. It's kind of nuts.
I am a survivor of MK Ultra, and this is just a video of me talking about some things that I have learned. One of the things I want to talk about, Mr. Beast and Sophie Rain have evidence up that the number of earnings that Sophie Rain has claimed to have earned are completely ludicrous and just not true. But more specifically on this group of people, Mr. Beast, Sophie Rain, and Camila Araujo, part of the reason that they are so, well, Camila Araujo and Sophie Rain, they're so obsessed with exploiting children for clout is because OnlyFans' marketing tactic and this point right now in our society is to take advantage of a slippery slope. So now when you see a digital prostitute using a child to promote pornography, you may be offended and upset, but it helps to desensitize for the next time that you see it. And this will
One minute. That's nuts.
Help to better market to the group of women that perform the best on there. So women in their late teens, early 20s. First normalize this and then help to normalize women that young choosing that line of work more often. And the term for the Bop House actually comes from the fact that when Sophie was posting online as a teenager, although she was covered, she was getting called a bop. And normally women like this would take credit for something like that. Wow, I've taken this insult.
Want to know someone's criminal past? Search millions of records instantly, from arrests to active warrants. Get the facts. View charges, warrant status, court.
She was getting the Charli D'Amelio treatment. I want to be clear when I say she was getting called a bop. Influx of comments. So the way that the Hype House named their house after the fact that many of them were getting comments saying that they were overhyped. The Bop House is named the Bop House because Sophie, who would be the most popular member, was getting called a bop all the time. Now the reason why they didn't state that, and they're claiming, oh, the name just came out of thin air, is because a lot of this marketing is dedicated for OnlyFans, and there is not an empowering spin you can put on a teenage girl getting cyberbullied when she is fully covered. It leans into what this actually is, prostitution. This is not empowerment.
I do believe there are some incredibly dark things going around when it comes to like desensitizing us to things that should not be normal. Like, I just don't think teenagers should have access to OnlyFans. I feel like that's really not taboo to say. I'm sorry. I just like, you're literally pandering towards PDF files. Like, I just think it is so sick and twisted. And people do this so much, making gross content for PDF files with their children, like food content or like just weird TikToks of their children like doing things. But like, they are specifically making them for the creeps that are saving these videos. And what this all has to do with Mr. Beast, it really made me think about how I think in general he should be questioned a lot more, especially his like involvement with Roblox. Roblox is like something I feel like I've had a lot of beef with. I think it is really fucked up that is still running to this day, because there are so many PDF files on there who are using that app to talk to children, and I just think that is obviously such a big problem, but it is been so normalized by people like Mr. Beast who have like a game. It's just something to me that is getting too normalized. But this made me kind of go down the rabbit hole with Mr. Beast in general, because I knew that he had beef with Rosanna Pansino, Miss Nerdy Nummies. I love her. She's cool, but I didn't really understand what the beef was about because I never cared about Mr. Beast. No offense, actually offense. But I never fucked with him because he's business partners with Logan Paul, who can go literally fuck off. I hate the Paul brothers, honestly, more than anything on this earth. Okay, probably not more than anything on this earth, but like really high up there. They are so insufferable and they just keep getting worse every year. And I'm like, who the fuck likes these people? Who likes them? Why do they have any fans? So Rosanna Pansino, I remember their beef being about basically like she accused Mr. Beast of wrongfully and unfairly editing her place in the Creator Games 3 videos. So I guess Mr. Beast makes these videos where he like has these YouTubers or other creators like do challenges and shit. I really don't know. And they have like the chance to win like $1 million. But Rosanna Pansino claims that she placed 3rd in this competition, but it was edited to appear that she placed 5th to favor other creators, which is obviously fucked up. But then she kind of just like would not stop and still won't stop talking about Mr. Beast, even though a lot of people are like, she's so annoying, like she can't let this go. I'm like, girl, she's kind of saying facts though. That's like what I feel like at the end of the day. It's like, yeah, like it is like gross and she's exposing him. I don't know.
The proof that Jimmy knew about Tyson's behavior is right here. How the hell could Jimmy say he doesn't know about his best friend when he's posting this in the chat with him. Hey guys, it's Ro. So, new update. I have received thousands of leaked messages from an official Mr. Beast work chat. These are all just their work chats from 2020 to about 2021 on Telegram. I verified the legitimacy of these chats with multiple former employees, and let me tell you, they are absolutely insane. If you're not aware, Ava Tyson, formerly Chris Tyson, was Mr. Beast's best friend for over a decade. They were roommates, and Ava was a main cast member in the videos for over 5 years. Ava was also accused of grooming a minor that she met through Mr. Beast. In July, Mr. Beast released the following statement. Over the last few days, I've become aware of the serious allegations of Ava Tyson's behavior online, and I am disgusted and opposed to such unacceptable acts. During that time, I have been focused on hiring an independent third party to conduct a thorough investigation to ensure I have all the facts. That said, I've seen enough online and taken immediate action to remove Ava from the company, my channel, and any association with Mr. Beast. I do not condone or support any of the inappropriate actions. I will allow the independent investigators the necessary time to conduct a comprehensive investigation and will take any further actions based on their findings. This statement received significant backlash because people thought Mr. Beast's claim of only recently becoming aware of Ava's problematic behavior seemed more than unlikely, me included. I personally don't even think he wrote that statement. I think it was put out by his spokesperson or publicist or crisis management team or his assistant. I know how he talks. I've worked with him for years and I know his voice.
So then Rosanna Pansino goes in and reads some of these messages in this work chat between Mr. Beast and his employees. And it is obviously like inappropriate to say the least, but it is just disgusting.
Let's see if Jimmy knew about Ava's concerning behavior. June of 2021, he sends a message of an anime called Higihiro. It says, I bet Chris would love this show. Why?
What's this show about?
Well, it's interesting that you ask because this show is about a romantic relationship between a 26-year-old salaryman and a 17-year-old high school runaway. It's well known online to be a controversial anime. And this anime is based on even more explicit novels that go into the details of this romantic relationship between an adult and an underage girl.
So Jimmy in the chats is saying, I bet Chris would love this show because it's right up her alley.
Why do you think Chris would love that show, Jimmy?
Why specifically this anime out of all animes out there?
Yeah, so I mean, I think it's pretty safe to say that Jimmy and Mr. Beast probably knew what his best friend was doing. I don't know. I think it's also interesting that like the doors that Mr. Beast opened for Ava Tyson to have communication with these young children were like very clearly opened by Mr. Beast. Whether or not he like meant that intentionally, obviously, is up for debate. But nonetheless, I do think that Mr. Beast is a danger to society. Okay, I think that it's a problem. Rosanna Pansino reported him to the FBI, which is just wild. Like it sounds crazy, but I honestly think it is necessary when you think of who is watching his content. He is pandering towards children and the people that he works with and have worked with for many years should not be allowed around children. So it is concerning that that is, you know, his demographic. I don't know. I really want to know what you guys think about this because again, I haven't done like a deep dive on Mr. Beast because I don't know, I just didn't really care and that's like not my style of content, but like I want to know what you guys think about this because I feel like lately a lot of people have been talking about him in regards to just unsavory things. So I want to hear your thoughts. And if you want like a deeper dive, we can maybe go into that because I'm sure there is a lot of stuff that Miss Rosanna Pansino has dug up. I've seen like random TikToks of her and I feel like she's always talking about him, which honestly, I love that for her. I think it's iconic that she is exposing this, but let us know your thoughts. Anyway, that is it for today's video. If you guys liked it, please give it a big thumbs up.
Yeah. Good. Hello, chat. Could you hear me? Cool. Chat. This story right here was nuts. This story. Quite true or false, so like in the mix, and I like it, and hopefully you guys like it. If you guys like it, comment on the bottom, and you guys want me to do more of these, comment on the bottom. We're gonna try this one.
These conspiracy theories are going viral on TikTok right now.
Alright. Now she's talking about TikTok. You guys know what TikTok is. I go on TikTok like oh no, every day, once a day. Or when I go to Florida, I go on TikTok, whatever heck. But let's do this.
These conspiracy theories are going viral on TikTok right now. So Palm Beach Pete took a DNA test, and the results of that DNA test has now made the state of Florida raise concern and demand him to drop out of the mayoral race for Palm Beach Mayor 2028. What the hell do you mean by that? So Palm Beach Pete recently took a DNA test to prove that he is not Jeffrey Epstein, and he is running for mayor, which is ridiculous, of Palm Beach for 2028, and he received an official letter that based on his DNA results, the state of Florida wants him to drop out of the race. He posted this and I was literally like, what is happening? What is this? He posted a letter from the Division of Elections, which I want to say he blocks out, redacts his own last name, even though he says his name is Peter Simel, but he redacts it several times throughout this document. He allegedly received this letter saying, quote, "The Division of Elections has been made aware of credible information that raises serious concerns about your eligibility and suitability to continue as a candidate for mayor of Palm Beach in the 2028 election. Recent DNA analysis by Redacted and related inquiries have produced results that have generated extraordinary public confusion regarding your candidate identity and background. These findings call into question key aspects of your campaign and directly impact the integrity of the electoral process and public confidence in potential elected officials. The Florida Division of Elections will assume full responsibility for conducting and overseeing all further analysis related to these findings, rather than relying on independent laboratory results. We may require your participation in additional DNA collection and testing procedures. As the state agency responsible for overseeing candidate qualifications and election administration under Chapter 105 Florida statutes, we strongly advise that you immediately withdraw your candidacy. Voluntary withdrawal at this stage will allow you to address these matters privately while minimizing disruption to the electoral process. We request a written response to this letter within 30 days indicating your decision. Please direct all correspondence to the undersigned. Sincerely, Director of Divisions of Elections." What the fuck? What do you mean? What was in the test results that...
A new era of American shipbuilding is here.
That's crazy.
Hello? I am so perplexed and interested by this because I'm like, is Palm Beach Pete just making this up? Is he saying that he received this letter and he didn't actually receive it? I literally cannot tell. At this point while I'm filming, he is still claiming that this is real and the Florida Department of Elections or whatever is out to get him because maybe he is Jeffrey Epstein. What the... Guys, I really did not ever think Palm Beach Pete was Jeffrey Epstein. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like I've gone back and forth whether or not thinking that they were connected in some way, because I do still think it is incredibly weird that they have allegedly been at the same parties and ran in the same circles, but never met each other, even though they look the fucking same. But I don't think they look alike enough for him to be Jeffrey Epstein. But with this, I'm just what the fuck is going on? Is he just trying to get some attention here? I literally don't know, because I'm can you fake a letter like that? Is that legal? I have so many questions. And honestly, we're not getting a lot of answers. And I would like to say, can we have some? What the fuck is happening? What do you mean? So is this proof that Palm Beach Pete is actually Jeffrey Epstein? Honestly, kind of maybe. Call me crazy, I think maybe. All right, so since Clive Davis has passed away, there have been a ton of conspiracy theories coming out about him because he is one of the biggest names in the music industry. Even if you've never heard of him, I'm telling you, behind the scenes, this guy ran everything. And the blind items that have been coming out about him since his death are honestly insane, and I think it points to a lot of bigger conspiracy theories about the music industry as a whole. So I saw this TikTok of this woman talking about how Clive Davis is worth $850 million, and he made all of his money on these artists that didn't even live past the age of 50. And when you look at the statistics of dead musicians around Clive Davis, it gets dark real fast. It does.
Clive Davis was worth $850 million when he passed away at the age of 94, nice and comfortable in his home. And every dollar of that $850 million was built off the backs of artists who did not live to see 50. 2002, Harlem. Let's talk about the artists who didn't just fight behind closed doors, but stood at a podium at a civil rights organization's headquarters one night in Harlem and said, throughout the years, Black artists have been taken advantage of. Completely. People like James Brown, Sammy Davis Jr., the pioneers, the real pioneers who inspired me. These artists were always on tour because if they stopped touring, they would be broke. Then he said, the record companies do conspire against their artists. They steal, they cheat, they do whatever they can, especially against Black artists. Then he said something that I think should have stopped the industry in its tracks. He said, we pioneer. We innovate. And at the end of the story, it's not an accident. It happens on purpose. And then he held up a sign of the name of his label, the CEO, with devil horns on his head, a pitchfork, and a tail. And the sign read, Sony Music Kills. That was in 2002, and he was leaving the label. He owned half their publishing, and they were furious about it. 7 years later, he's found in his home dead after a physician administered drugs, and this physician happened to be connected to the company that was orchestrating his comeback tour, the very company financing it. And after his death, the same label that he called out acquired 60% of his publishing estate, giving the label the rights to everything he spent his life protecting. He said it out loud in front of God and everybody, and the story still ended the same.
I think this is a super important point because when we look back on a lot of the people that Clive Davis has worked directly with, but also if you kind of look back into sister companies that he owned or he had any kind of business deal a part of, it goes way beyond like Whitney Houston. I think that's like the number one person that people believe that Clive Davis killed. And I do think it's important to note that regardless here, obviously we know very well that musicians are worth more in death than they are in life a lot of the time. Like a lot of the time. And that sounds a little familiar to me because when I watched the 50 Cent documentary about P. Diddy, I remember someone saying that Diddy himself said that Biggie Smalls was worth more in death than he is in life. And obviously that's a whole conspiracy theory in itself, whether or not he murdered Biggie or had Biggie killed. But, you know, at the end of the day, Biggie ended up paying for his own funeral. So clearly Sean Combs just had no class whatsoever. I think we obviously know that. But where did Diddy learn this behavior from? Clive Davis? Has Clive Davis been doing this for decades? That's the question. So a blind item that released since he died says, quote, the one thing that will be revealed after the music legend's death is how he contributed to the death of the permanent A-list singer. It is the same playbook he followed decades earlier with the illiterate singer and her death. And this is allegedly about Clive Davis, Whitney Houston, and Janis Joplin. So at the end of the day, these record labels are massively, and I mean massively, profiting off of these artists' deaths every day. I mean, we see a lot of actors that die and a lot of people in Hollywood in general, but if you think about it, it really is a lot, majority of musicians. And that is because their catalogs are worth so much more in death. And it is a little scary to think how far people are willing to go for money. And I think that this theory is honestly less so of a theory and more of like a who gets added into the list of victims here, because there are a lot. Like Clive Davis is not someone you really publicly associate Michael Jackson with very much, but at the end of the day,
That's crazy.
Tucked away on Oregon Road in the heart of the North Fork is a hidden gem where sustainable winemaking, breathtaking vineyard views, and
Clive Davis was the chief creative officer of Sony Music Entertainment, which obviously connects directly back to Michael Jackson and what that TikTok was saying about how he was publicly against Sony and saying that Sony kills and profits off of specifically Black artists. And I do think that that is definitely a pattern here, though it obviously has happened before, like we just talked about Janis Joplin. It's definitely a notable pattern here that Clive Davis profited off of a lot of Black artists who didn't make it past 50 years old, which is just horrific. But because I saw this about Clive Davis and Alicia Keys, which I found very interesting. A blind item says the former label owner was up to his eyeballs in payola, so why not buy some votes to get the Grammy win for the lock opener singer? And one person who really talks highly of Clive Davis is Alicia Keys, and allegedly this is about Clive Davis and Alicia Keys. And payola is essentially when record producers illegally pay radios to play their artists' music over and over again. And Clive Davis has literally been involved with payola before. He most likely did pay a lot of different radio stations to play various of his artists' songs and to gain popularity in an inauthentic way. And I do think that this is interesting, again, because I do think it's interesting that Alicia Keys is one of the only people I hear talk positively about Clive Davis. I don't know. It's just a thought, I guess. I really want to hear your guys' thoughts on this. You guys loved my Clive Davis deep dive video, which I'm surprised with. I kind of just made that because I was I feel like I need to connect all the dots in one place. But you guys loved it, so I want to hear your guys' thoughts on all of this. Do you think Clive Davis has just happened to be everywhere in Hollywood and in the music industry and around all of these dead artists because he invested a lot of money? Or do you think that he was trying to make his investments pay off even more? Because at the end of the day, especially Biggie Smalls, I think about that, everyone points at P. Diddy for that, but Clive Davis owned half of Bad Boy Records. So P. Diddy and Clive Davis both probably equally benefited from Big's death. And honestly, the pattern, it just gets even crazier the more you look at it. I could honestly do a part 2 of all of the deaths connected to Clive Davis if you guys would be interested in that, because it's pretty bad. People have talked about the concept that the Trump Butler assassination was staged. I think this is a very common conspiracy theory, even amongst conservatives. I think they also think something was weird about this. The timing of everything was just too perfect. The bullet barely grazing his ear, us barely knowing literally anything about the shooter whatsoever. Him not being a household name is weird to me. But also, of course, that perfectly timed picture where they lowered the American flag and he was yeah, definitely helped him win the presidency in 2024. But nonetheless, this has been a long running conspiracy theory at this point. And now this clip of Charlie Kirk explaining how he found out that this shooting happened implicates Erica Kirk in a way that honestly, I have never seen anything quite like this. I'm I can't believe this exists.
On Saturdays, Charlie turns his phone off. And yeah, on that particular Saturday, he didn't.
Tell us about how do you find out about this happening? I keep asking everybody this.
Yeah.
Tell us what your initial reaction was that night.
It was a really strange day. I usually turn my phone off on Saturdays. I honor the Shabbat. And I'm not Jewish, but I think it's important that we Christians do. And yet I had my phone on because I was trying to help make J.D. Vance the Vice President of the United States. So it's just had some calls to make. Let's just put it that way.
We'll put it that way.
And so my phone was on, and Erica, my wife, was yeah, I think God wants you to have your phone on today. I was okay, sure. So we went down to our complex has this big gym, and I had my daughter in my arms, and I just turned to the television
You can come
screen.
out. That's it.
And because I saw
That's it. You can, that's it. How strange. Gosh, she's just so plugged in this way. God wants your phone on. And wow, he probably was my wife, she really just is so godly. Yeah. You should ask her who in her phone is saved as God in her as a contact. Is it Bibi Netanyahu? I mean, I do think maybe God told her to have your phone on that day. I just don't know who she saved in her phone as God.
That's one of the crazier things I've heard. God.
You guys. Oh, wait. That sounds nuts. If God told you to fall off the roof, would you freaking do it? Like, that sounds, it's stupid. Like, I don't know. A lot of people with elitists, if I could say it right. A lot of people like believe in God and stuff, but way too much. But that sounds ridiculous. Like, no joke, no lie. That sounds weird. That sounds very, very weird. God say turn off your phone. What? You're gonna turn off your phone? Like, that's weird. You know? Alright, we'll continue this.
God wants you to have your phone on today. Hello? Like, are we all hearing this correctly? Because what the fuck do you mean? I am cracking the hell up at this. I don't know, like the concept of Erica Kirk being an Israeli spy, an asset to the Trump administration in some way, and involved in kind of like essentially like a honeypot for Charlie Kirk. I mean, I just think that the way that we've seen things go down since Charlie's death and the way that Erica Kirk has reacted, which is, in my opinion, not of a normal grieving widow. Though what is normal when your husband gets publicly assassinated, like I understand, but I personally don't think bragging about selling $200,000 worth of hats 6 days after he died is the normal protocol. But maybe that's just me. But Erica Kirk...
Yo, I didn't mean that part. I meant... Okay, I know what I meant. I can explain myself now. If God tells you fall off the roof, would you do it? No. If you do it, you're dead. You're done. You're really, really done. So, what I'm saying to you, that sounds ridiculous. God tells you to turn on your phone. Dude, it's a freaking... It's a phone. Like, what? What the heck? Like, that sounds weird. Very, very weird. So, let's continue this. Like, would you come on, fall off the roof? No, that's what I meant. No. God told you fall off the roof, you would not fall off the freaking roof. Like, you fall off the roof, you're dead? Or your legs broken, or your arm broken, whatever heck, or your hip, anything. Like, that sounds weird, or whatever. That sounds very, very weird. I just need to say that. Alright, let's continue this.
But there's something so hilarious to me about Charlie being like, yeah, Erica Kirk on the day that Trump was assassinated, because I don't use my phones on Saturdays, said that God wants you to use your cell phone today. I can't. I really can't. Like, that cannot be serious. I'm sorry. I guess Erica Kirk is just a psychic. But, like, she couldn't see her own husband's assassination coming, or did she? That's the question. Sorry, I just honestly feel like it does. Like, it implicates her, but, like, it's not.
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it, just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44, a complete AI creation.
Literally, obviously, like, it's not like you could go with that and have it be like actual evidence. But when you read between the lines of all of the things that we've had and all of the evidence that we have that Erica Kirk was involved in some way in her husband's assassination, what do you mean you think God wants you to use your phone today? I can't. I'm speechless. I cannot believe this man said this about Watergate, which is one of the biggest conspiracy theories that turned out to be true ever. Like, I cannot believe that he basically went on stage saying that if Watergate were to happen today, that it wouldn't be such a big deal, essentially.
If Watergate happened tomorrow, it would be like a 12-hour news story. Like, the idea that it would have taken down a presidency is crazy. And by the way, if you look at the story of how the deep state took down Richard Nixon, it's not all that different from what the same groups of people, the same institutions tried to do to Donald Trump in the first Trump administration. There is a parallel.
I think he Freudian slipped so hard here that it's kind of actually nuts that he even said this. So basically Watergate is these operatives that were connected to Richard Nixon's re-election campaign. They were arrested while burglarizing and planting listening devices at the DNC headquarters. So at the Democrat headquarters in Washington, D.C. And the Nixon administration immediately tried to conceal its involvement. They destroyed evidence. They paid hush money. They used the FBI and the CIA to obstruct the investigation of this conspiracy. And during these investigations, it was revealed that Richard Nixon had actually secretly recorded all of his conversations in the Oval Office. And they were able to obtain those recordings and the unedited tapes and the transcripts. And the release of those transcripts and unedited tapes prove that Richard Nixon himself personally directed the cover-up of Watergate. The fact that JD Vance is saying that way worse corrupt shit happens now essentially is bonkers, because obviously this led to Richard Nixon being, he was almost impeached, but he resigned before that could happen. But I just feel like him saying that opened so big of a can of worms that he is so too stupid to even realize what he just said, because he's basically saying that the current president does a lot worse and more corrupt things than Watergate. So one of the most corrupt presidential scandals in history. Do with that what you will, I guess. But speaking of JD Vance, let's talk about Erica Kirk. So there is this crazy video of Usha Vance and JD Vance, and I have never been more sure of anything in my life than thinking that Erica Kirk has something allegedly to do with her husband's death. But something I am even more sure of is that Erica Kirk and JD Vance have some sort of affair going on. Sorry. And this just proves it to me.
That's right. Today's special reader is my husband, Vice President of the United States, JD Vance. Thanks for joining us today, honey.
Of course. Good to see you.
If my husband patted me on the knee like that, the way I would be out of that room in a second. Good to see you. It's a colleague you haven't seen in 6 months. As a reminder, this is how he hugged Erica Kirk, the grieving widow of a friend of his. So it's not just that he's awkward around women. If I were Usha, I wouldn't like him either. Listen to what he said about how he was as a boyfriend.
And the woman who's now the second lady,
Your
she and
wife.
I were dating. I was not a very good boyfriend. I had a terrible temper. I had, in hindsight, what people would have called a
Sorry, guys. I need to pause it for a minute.
attachment problems. And so we'd have an argument and I'd be like, all right, see you later. Call me in a few days.
And do not think for a second that I feel bad for Usha Vance. She is probably one of the smartest people adjacent to this White House, and she has sold her humanity to be closer to power. If she were not married to JD Vance, this administration would throw her under the bus in a second, deport her, bury her on a golf course. And she is smart enough that she knows exactly what she is doing. As a friend of mine said, women who carry water for the patriarchy are the first to drown in it.
I'm so sorry, but that's literally insane. Literally insane. Why'd he pat her on the knee? Good to see ya. Do you know her? I'm literally confused by this. All right, the next theory I want to talk about has to do with Corey Gamble. So he is the longtime boyfriend of Kris Jenner. I have always just thought he was a little off. Him and Scott Disick got a huge fight one time because he said that he would have hit Penelope, his daughter. Corey Gamble is interesting because he's one of those people that's always there, okay? But no one knows why. He was there when Kim Porter died. He was there with P. Diddy. He is always just lurking in the background. And I saw this TikTok of the Kardashians talking about conspiracy theories that they believe in, and Khloe is going in on this Miami Mall conspiracy theory and talking about how she believes that there really were aliens at the Miami Mall, and there was that incident, obviously we all remember, and Corey's talking about how he doesn't believe it, and she is basically accusing Corey of being an alien, and it's kind of funny, but when you look at Corey's history, it actually gets pretty interesting.
Obviously, that was 100% real. Where are all the video?
No way.
Are you kidding me? They have technology that wipes it all out.
Rob.
Kendall and I are talking about the Miami Mall situation. Kris Jenner's over here. Like there was fireworks and a mall fight.
I just don't force people to believe what's actually happening.
So I'm wrong. For the record, I do believe in aliens. I love conspiracy theories. I don't have to believe them all, but I love them all. And my brother is right there with me.
There's literally 7 species of aliens, and there's good aliens and bad aliens.
It's more than that, Rob.
There's more than that for sure, Corey.
I definitely think Corey is an alien, by the way. I've already told Corey that. Corey, for sure, is an alien. Is there proof? No.
You, just you, building your app on Base 44. Describe it.
Well, no, but yes.
Why do you think Corey's an alien? I'm not stupid. I'm on your team.
Is Corey an alien? No. There's UFOs on etchings in caves.
Okay, just a question.
They've literally been here since like the 40s.
Centuries, Rob. Centuries.
Are you sure? No.
Why do you keep saying it's more than that, Rob? It's more than that. They've been here for centuries. What the fuck are you talking about, Corey? What are you talking about? I could do, honestly, a whole deep dive on Corey Gamble because he's just one of those people, again, that's always just lurking in the background. Becca Day, who is this amazing TikTok sleuth, honestly, she's a journalist and she does such a great job. Did a whole series on Corey Gamble, and I just find it to be incredibly interesting.
Okay, I've collected my thoughts, I've done a lot of research, and we have to talk about Corey Gamble. Corey Gamble is surrounded by so much controversy and mystery. I think we should go back to the very beginning, because truly, who is Corey Gamble and how did he become so closely associated with figures such as Jeff Bezos, the Kardashian Empire, Rock Nation, and of course, P. Diddy? As always, let's go back to the very beginning. Corey Gamble was born on November 10th of 1980 in Atlanta, Georgia. Atlanta is where he would grow up and spend the majority of his childhood and early adulthood as well. Corey attended Westlake High School in Atlanta, where he would nickname himself Mr. Dependable, and he was the captain of his football team. Corey found himself often being praised by school faculty and staff for being able to manage a rigorous schedule, being the captain of the football team, while also managing to keep good grades in school. After graduating from high school in 1999, Corey attended Morehouse College, where he pursued and received his business degree. After graduating from college, Corey Gamble would date Sheree Buchanan, who is the ex-wife of Atlanta Falcons player Ray Buchanan. Sheree Buchanan also appeared on the reality TV show Atlanta Exes, as well as The Amazing Race. Corey and Sheree dated from about 2007 to 2010, and according to Sheree, things ended very violently and dangerously as she had to take out a restraining order against Corey Gamble for stalking her after she broke things off with Corey. And there is court documentation to prove that in 2010, a restraining order was granted against Corey Gamble to protect Sheree Buchanan. Something I found very interesting about this dynamic, this relationship, was that similar to his current relationship with Kris Jenner, is that Sheree is about 10 years older than Corey Gamble. And as we know now, Corey Gamble is in a long-term relationship with Kris Jenner, who is 25 years older than him. So he must have a thing for older women, I guess. One thing that I do want to mention before we continue on our confirmed factual timeline is a tip that I received that definitely falls into the realm of speculation, but I found it very interesting and wanted to share with you guys under the pretenses that this is just speculation. I have received numerous tips that all are very, very similar. And these tips came from individuals who have claimed to be familiar or know Corey Gamble from when he still lived and worked in Atlanta. Corey was once a performer in the adult film industry. Multiple people came to me sharing this information and that they had seen him while they were working on certain sets. And obviously, I am not going to share their identity for their own protection. I have no idea the genre that he may have been working in, and as much as I love information, that is not a rabbit hole that I want to go down. Again, this is just alleged. I do want to get back to our more factual, provable timeline, but I did want to mention that simply because so many people message me saying this exact same sentiment. I'm not willing to do the research to confirm whether or not that speculation checks out or not. It was towards the mid to late 2010s when Corey stopped really splitting his time between Atlanta and California and was really starting to make moves in California, Los Angeles. Let's talk about some of Corey's friendships and connections that have ultimately led him to being somewhat of a patriarchal figure in the Kardashian empire. One of the more notable and important friendships we'll mention in this series is Corey Gamble's friendship with P. Diddy. Now, I cannot confirm the origins of how P. Diddy and Corey Gamble became such close friends. Upon further investigation, I did discover that Farnsworth Bentley, who worked as P. Diddy's butler, his personal valet, really his personal assistant for a number of years, was enrolled in Morehouse College at the same time that Corey Gamble was enrolled in Morehouse College. I wonder if that connection at Morehouse eventually led to Corey Gamble meeting P. Diddy through Farnsworth Bentley, but obviously we can't confirm this. This is just speculation. Corey Gamble has been close with P. Diddy publicly since at least the mid-2000s to the late 2000s. Dozens of photographs on the internet of Corey Gamble with P. Diddy and his young children that were taken years and years ago. Corey has stated on multiple occasions that he helped raise P. Diddy's children and had
For 125 years, the people of Firestone have been building products and services with one thing in mind.
a brother-sister-like friendship with Kim Porter, P. Diddy's now deceased ex. We talked about in earlier videos, Corey Gamble was even on the scene when coroners arrived to retrieve Kim Porter's lifeless body out of her home. It really does seem like Corey Gamble has more than just a friendship with P. Diddy and his family. It definitely seems to be more of a familial bond. I also found photos of Corey Gamble with Ludacris, Shaq, and Michael Jordan that go all the way back to 2001, and it seems that they had a very close friendship and would often be traveling on private jets together. I could not confirm the origins of these friendships, how they connected, but obviously there are so many places that they could have connected. In 2001, Corey Gamble had just recently graduated from high school, so it's very interesting to see how many influential connections he made at a very, very young age somehow. Before the age of 21, he was on private jets with some of the biggest rappers and athletes.
Yeah, so I have a lot of questions as to what the fuck Corey Gamble is. Who is he? Why is he everywhere? And also, what the fuck do you know about aliens, Corey? What do you know about aliens that you've been saying that they've been around for centuries? Sorry, I think he needs a deep dive, but let me know if you guys would be interested in that. All right, the next TikTok I want to talk about is about Marilyn Monroe's death, and this is from a man named Michael Franzese Sr. He's a former New York City mobster involved in the Colombo crime family, and he claims that Marilyn Monroe's death was a mob hit, and honestly, there's kind of a lot of evidence to support that theory.
Dad, did the mob really take out Marilyn Monroe?
I would have to say we had something to do with it, because if you look at the issues surrounding her death, you know, allegedly she committed suicide. They found pills all over her bed, but when they did the autopsy, there was no presence of the pills in her system. And I happen to know for a fact that a mob guy came and visited her that night just before she passed away. So was the mob involved, Kennedy involved, all that stuff? I think it's a good bet.
First of all, I don't love the fact that he said we had involvement. We? Hello. But also, I think it's interesting that he says that he knows for a fact that a mob member was visiting Marilyn Monroe the night that she died. And I do think when you look at a lot of the facts, especially if you connect it to, which you have to, because it's obviously all connected, JFK's assassination having to do with the mafia as well. It's so clear that there is a connection here, and I'm not loving it. It's freaking me out a little bit, not gonna lie. All right, the next TikTok I saw actually drove me insane. So it's this woman saying how she went to Graceland, and she shows this like creepy ass photo from Graceland, and it literally looks like Elvis Presley in the window and Lisa Marie Presley sitting on his lap. What the fuck is that? I don't think that it's like, oh, Elvis is still alive. I think it's obviously all connected. JFK assassination having to do with the mafia as well. Alright, next TikTok I saw was the woman saying how she went to Graceland, and she shows this like, creepy ass photo from Graceland, and it literally looks like Elvis Presley. No, Presley. What the fuck is that? I don't think that it's
Guy, what the fuck? One, Elvis not alive. Two, that looks freaking creepy as shit. Like, what the hell? Like, what the fuck, you guys? Alright, let's see. In the, like, the creepy clown shit, this shit. Oh, wait, crap, that's a fish. A fish, another fish. Oh my goodness. A can thing, a glass thing, oh my gosh. What the hell?
they're fucking ghosts, and I'm not liking that either. They're fucking ghosts, and I'm not liking that.
Yeah, and plus, it's a fucking ghost. So, let's see that thing again. Hold up. I'll show you guys in a minute.
Have to, because it's obviously all connected. JFK's assassination having to do with the mafia as well. It's so clear that there is a connection here, and I am not loving it. It's freaking me out a little bit, not gonna lie. All right, the next TikTok I saw actually drove me insane. So it's this woman saying how she went to Graceland, and she shows this like creepy ass photo from Graceland, and it literally looks like Elvis Presley in the window and Lisa Marie Presley sitting on his lap. What the fuck is that? I don't think that it's saying how she went to Graceland, and she shows creepy ass photo from Graceland, and it literally looks like Elvis Presley in the window. Presley sitting on. What the fuck is that? I don't think that it's.
You guys, what the fuck? One, this is a fucking ghost. Elvis is fucking dead. He's not fucking alive anymore. Adios, amigos. Like, goodbye. He fucking dead for life. He probably did some stupid shit. We don't know. We weren't around back then. But what the fuck? That's like a ghost right there.
It's like, oh, Elvis is still alive. I think it's their fucking ghosts, and I'm not liking that either. And something else that really freaked me out here is that a comment says, as a former Graceland employee, yeah, he's in there. So do y'all just like accept the fact that it's haunted? Is it kind of like Disneyland, but also various different like museums and like known haunted houses where these like employees are just all accepting the fact that, you know, these places are haunted and that the ghosts are actually still there. Was Graceland one of those places? Is it one of those places? What the fuck? I thought Elvis was still alive. What's the truth? All right, speaking on the more fun side of things, there are various conspiracy theories spreading around that Ariana Grande is back with her ex, Ricky Alvarez. So I love this theory. I think it's funny, and honestly, I don't really think it's true, and we'll talk about it.
Welcome to the greatest city in the world. In Chicago, we are never done. We are never outdone.
Okay, great. Wait, were you even listening? You haven't taken a single note this
In a second, but it is, I understand why people believe it.
Ariana Grande has already responded to rumors that she is once again dating Ricky Alvarez, her old background dancer who she licked the donut with after they were seen at a restaurant together during a recent tour stop. Let's look at their messy history, as he was a bad boy and got her in a lot of trouble. And let's look at what Ariana's team said. Ariana's 33, but she was once 22 and was dating Ricky Alvarez from about April 2015 to June 2016, as far as we know. He was a background dancer for her honeymoon tour, and he definitely got her into some trouble. The most obvious one being the infamous donut licking incident, where she licked a donut, said she hated America on 4th of July of all days, and then kissed her boyfriend right after. Because she's a legend and an icon, she was onto something. Scooter Braun also threw major shade at Ricky Alvarez in the past, insinuating he's a bad boyfriend and that Ariana fired Scooter because of Ricky Alvarez. He said when shitty boyfriends leave, then Ariana sees the light on things, because then she rehired Scooter Braun. So yesterday, Ariana was seen sitting at a dinner table at a restaurant with Ricky in Austin, Texas, as she's doing a tour stop there. These are his tattoos. A lot of fans were there and they saw that it was him. Obviously, that doesn't mean they're dating again, but also Ariana was performing Thank You Next yesterday, and she changed the lyrics in Thank You Next in the line where she's singing about Ricky. Now, Ricky has infamously said he got the worst line in Thank You Next when she's listing all of her exes. The original line is, wrote some songs about Ricky, now I listen and laugh, but not doing anything romantically. They are not back together. They're just friends. But I really don't think the fans would be mad if they were.
And so from when this was recorded last night, she also changed the lyrics again and said, wrote some songs about Ricky. I know he still has my back. And Ricky was there once again. So are Ariana and Ricky Alvarez back together? Are the Donut Queen and King together again? I don't know. I kind of don't believe it, just because I feel like I have seen this film before. And I honestly think that she and Ricky have just known each other for such a long time and have been friends, and he's still friends with a bunch of her dancers and all that. I feel like that's probably why, but you know what? You never know. You never know, and I'd be here for it, okay? Okay? Anyway, that is it for today's video. If you guys liked it,
So you guys want to do more of this, or you guys want to? So he did it. You guys want to do stuff in Disney on Live? Put a dark blue heart. If you guys want to see this, put a black heart, so I could know which one. So yeah, just say it what you guys want to do. If you guys want to do this, put a black heart. You guys want to do people Disney Live, do a red heart. Alright, check out this. Guys ready?
People have lots of opinions when it comes to our bodies. Our shapes, how we dress, even our birth control. Time out. Since when is it anyone's...
And fortune tellers, people who heard the rumors, didn't believe it. But years later, declassified documents revealed everything. Here's how it started. In the early 1960s, who suspected these things were just laughed at. Then the truth was revealed. These are insane conspiracy theories that turned out true. Part 2. Make sure you guys watch the full video, because I'm going to link part 1 at the end. But you don't have to watch it in any particular order. It would mean the world if you guys subscribe, and I will do the best that I can to put out the best videos I possibly.
Alright, What do we subscribe to this dude too? 1 minute.
Possibly can for you. I'm Visual Venture and you are awesome. The Psychic Spy Conspiracy. Most wars are won with weapons, soldiers, and strategy. But in the 1970s, the US military tried to use human superpowers to fight a war. They secretly recruited psychics and fortune tellers. People who heard the rumors didn't believe it. But years later, declassified documents revealed everything. Here's how it started. In the early 1970s, the CIA was worried about the Soviet Union. Reports claimed the Soviets were spending millions of dollars studying psychic powers. They wanted to build a team of psychics that could see what Americans were doing from hundreds of miles away. The idea sounded impossible, but the US government couldn't ignore even the smallest threat. So the CIA also quietly launched its own psychic research program. It was called the Stargate Project. They started recruiting Americans who claimed they had psychic abilities. The most promising candidates were brought to a secret location in Maryland. Their first task was simple. They needed to prove that they were really psychic. Each candidate was locked in a room and given a series of tests. In one test, a researcher secretly looked at a picture. The psychic then had to read the researcher's mind and draw whatever image they were thinking about.
On the left side of the page, you see the original target, and on the right, Geller's response.
When the drawings were compared to the original images, they claimed that some were surprisingly close.
In fact, this is the most off-target of the drawings that he did.
Some candidates passed the tests. They were ready for the first psychic spy mission. The psychics were given the coordinates of specific locations. Then they were asked to describe what was happening there. They called it remote viewing. Once they started talking, the researchers were stunned. It seemed that a lot of their information was quite accurate.
We were finding information that saved lives that couldn't be found in any other way, not even through spy-in-the-sky satellites or ground agents.
Some psychics could reportedly see into Soviet military bases. Their descriptions were incredibly detailed. No one could explain how they were supernaturally seeing these things, but those running the program were satisfied. Over the years, more than 20 psychics were employed. They took part in high-level intelligence missions, but the entire program stayed top secret. Then in 1979, Project Stargate was given its biggest challenge. That year, a Soviet plane crashed somewhere in the jungles of Central Africa. The aircraft was full of secret codes and valuable technology. Americans wanted to find it before the Soviets did. Recovering it would give the US a huge advantage in the war. For weeks, US satellites scanned the area, but the jungle was so thick they found nothing. The clock was running out. The US was desperate, so they turned to Project Stargate for help. For this mission, they chose a psychic named Rosemary Smith. Rosemary was handed a map of Africa and asked to find the fallen plane. They gave her no other information. According to those in the room, Rosemary went into a trance. After a few minutes, she pointed to a spot on the map. Then she gave them exact coordinates. When the military focused its satellite cameras on that location, they found the plane, right where she said it would be. The US government was impressed, but there was no public celebration. The military wanted the psychic program to remain secret. Then someone opened their mouth and ruined everything. Somehow, an investigative reporter named Jack Anderson found out about Project Stargate. So he published a series of articles exposing it. He revealed how the psychics supposedly helped locate enemy submarines and planes. He also claimed they helped catch a spy. The news spread across the country, but instead of panic or outrage, people just laughed it off. The public simply didn't believe it. The government also denied everything. The Department of Defense claimed no money was spent for ESP or whatever sort of label you want to put on those programs. The story was treated like a conspiracy theory. Eventually, it was forgotten. Then in 1995, the truth finally came out. Some CIA documents were declassified, and they confirmed that the Stargate project was real. The CIA even admitted it. Not long after that, the program was shut down. But the reason surprised people. The government claimed the psychics were unreliable. In other words, it seemed their information was wrong most of the time. The program turned out to be true. But the question is, did these psychics just get lucky? This next chapter is about a theory that the government was actually killing thousands of its own citizens purposely. The poisoned alcohol conspiracy. In the 1920s, a terrifying conspiracy theory spread across America. A doctor claimed the government was poisoning alcohol to kill citizens. What if that?
Now, after this, I'm gonna look up something real quick after this. You're watching this, right? So after this, we're gonna look up guys, hold on, we're gonna look up this. Oh shoot.
CIA documents were declassified, and they confirmed that the Stargate project was real. The CIA even admitted it. Not long after that, the program was shut down. But the reason surprised people. The government claimed the psychics were unreliable. In other words, it seemed their information was wrong most of the time. The program turned out to be true. But the question is, did these psychics just get lucky? This next chapter is about a theory that the government was actually killing thousands of its own citizens purposely. The poisoned alcohol conspiracy. In the 1920s, a terrifying conspiracy theory spread across America. A doctor claimed the government was poisoning alcohol to kill citizens. But if that was true, the question is why? In 1920, the United States government banned the sale and production of alcohol. The law became known as prohibition. Lawmakers believed alcohol was destroying American society. They thought banning it would reduce crime, improve families, and clean up the country.
If they could ban it, all of America's problems would definitely 100%, without a doubt, be completely and totally solved.
Police raided warehouses and smashed barrels of alcohol. But almost immediately, the law failed. People didn't stop drinking. They just started drinking in secret.
Almost overnight, a whole underground economy sprang up dedicated to smuggling and selling alcohol. If anything, alcohol consumption became more widespread as people sought to outwit the law.
Bootleggers needed huge amounts of alcohol to keep up with demand, so they came up with a dangerous idea. They would turn industrial alcohol into drinking alcohol. Industrial alcohol was used in paint, cleaning products, and medical supplies. It was never meant to be consumed because it contained harmful chemicals, but that didn't stop them. Some people filtered industrial alcohol, bottled it, and secretly sold it in bars. As demand grew, thieves started breaking into factories. They stole entire barrels of industrial alcohol and pushed it into the black market. The government knew this was happening, but they couldn't stop the thefts. So they decided to make the stolen alcohol undrinkable. The government sent a secret order to industrial alcohol makers. They told them to add deadly poisons to every batch.
There was already some methanol in most industrial alcohol formulations, but the government added more, a lot more, to the point where it was sometimes 10% of the entire product.
People kept stealing industrial alcohol from factories. Only now it was poison, and they had no idea. It was bottled and sold across the country. Before long, there was a national disaster. On Christmas Eve, 1926, 60 people were rushed to the hospital. They all drank toxic holiday liquor. 8 of them passed away before Christmas morning, and the crisis only got worse. The poisoned alcohol was everywhere. In New York City alone, over 1,200 people became seriously sick. Around 400 of them passed away.
Victims would fall into a coma, and death often followed. The lucky ones, if you could call them that, would lose their sight, but at least they'd survive.
No one knew what was causing this sudden medical crisis, but one doctor was determined to figure it out. Charles Norris was the chief medical examiner of New York City. He watched these bodies pile up, and he figured out what was happening. He noticed that the victims all had one thing in common. They had been drinking, so the poison likely came from alcohol. But bootleggers wanted repeat customers. They wouldn't poison loyal buyers. So if bootleggers were not doing it on purpose, who was? To Norris, the answer was obvious. Norris called a press conference. Then he accused the government of poisoning alcohol.
But it wasn't a virulent flu or poorly chosen mushrooms that caused their deaths. It was alcohol that had been poisoned by the US government, which sounds like a conspiracy theory, but it's the truth.
Norris called it a national experiment in extermination. He also said the government must be held responsible for the deaths that poisoned liquor causes. Almost immediately, the government dismissed it as a conspiracy theory. reality, but a few people believed it. It became a debate. Those who supported prohibition said alcohol was illegal, so anyone who drank it was breaking the law and deserved whatever happened. Others could not believe their own government would poison citizens. The idea sounded too extreme. Norris needed undeniable proof, and he knew exactly how to get it. Norris contacted Alexander Gettler. Gettler was the chief toxicologist for New York City. Gettler analyzed the bodies arriving at the morgue. Then he carefully tested samples taken from confiscated alcohol. The alcohol contained massive amounts of methanol, also known as wood alcohol. Consuming methanol would destroy the nervous system and cause blindness, and it could end lives slowly and painfully. Now, Norris and Gettler had proof of the government's poisoning program. They published their findings. Newspapers across the country reported the story. The public was outraged. The conspiracy theory was true all along. But even after the evidence came out, the poisoning program did not stop. Incredibly, the government admitted it and even doubled down on it. Officials announced that they would add even more toxic chemicals like benzene. They wanted the fear of death to scare Americans into obeying prohibition laws. But it didn't work. People still kept drinking, and many of them didn't survive. In December 1933, prohibition officially came to an end. Alcohol was no longer illegal. It was estimated that about 10,000 Americans passed away from these poison drinks. The whole program worked because people trusted what they were given. Nobody even questioned what was actually inside. The government counted on that. And cell phone companies have been doing that same thing for years. They show you one price but hide the fees in the fine print. So when you get the bill, it's much higher than you expect. But Mint Mobile, the sponsor of today's video, said, we're gonna be honest. Just tell people the actual price, and you don't have to sacrifice quality to get it, because every plan includes unlimited talk and text on the nation's largest 5G network, plus free calling to Mexico, Canada, and the UK. And you guys might be thinking that switching carriers is a massive headache. It's actually super simple. You can activate a new plan with an eSIM in minutes from the comfort of your couch. Plus, you can keep your same phone number and all of your existing contacts. It might sound too good to be true, but here's why they can do this. Mint Mobile brought the bulk buying concept to wireless. Basically, the more months you buy up front, the more you save. Mint lets you choose the data amount that's right for you, 5, 15, 20, or unlimited gigabytes. So you're paying for only what you actually need, not for some plan that doesn't fit you. And if you have any issues, Mint's customer support has a 96% satisfaction rate, which is pretty impressive, and a 7-day unconditional money-back guarantee. My friends, use my QR code or link below to stop overpaying for wireless, just because that's how it's always been. With premium plans starting at just $15 a month, Mint helps you break the traditional wireless cycle. This next conspiracy involves a plot to assassinate a world leader, and it failed because of one stupid mistake. The Mafia hit conspiracy. In the late 1960s, an investigative journalist made a shocking claim. He said the CIA hired American mafia to assassinate a world leader. The idea of the CIA working with gangsters seemed impossible. Then the evidence started coming out, and people realized it was far worse than they thought. In 1959, a revolutionary named Fidel Castro took power in Cuba.
Havana's ovation for Fidel Castro himself had been long deferred. These scenes show his triumphal march across the island to the capital following the victory.
The U.S. government hated what Castro stood for. They wanted him gone. But Castro was heavily guarded. He already survived multiple assassination attempts. If the CIA wanted to reach Castro, they needed something he would never expect. They felt like they needed a gangster-type action. So the CIA reached out to the American mafia. Luckily for them, the mafia had its own reason to hate Castro. Before Castro took power, the mob controlled the many casinos in Cuba. They made millions of dollars. But when Castro took over, he shut down the casinos and kicked the mob out. The mafia lost a fortune, so the CIA and the mafia had a common enemy. And in 1960, they joined forces to destroy him. A CIA agent had a meeting with a Las Vegas mobster. The offer was simple. The CIA would pay the mafia $150,000 to eliminate Castro. But the mafia hated Castro so much that they insisted on taking the job for free. Later that year, the CIA and mafia secretly met again. This time, they discussed exactly how they would do it.
We have got to the point where literally anybody can build a fully working app without knowing how to code. This is base for.
The CIA wanted to use a firearm, but Castro was heavily guarded. at all times. No gunman could get close enough to pull the trigger and escape. So the mafia suggested a quieter solution. They would use some type of potent pill that could be placed in Castro's food or drink. The CIA agreed. They returned to the lab to create the poison. Soon, they developed 6 pills filled with lethal toxins. Once they were slipped into Castro's drink, the pills would dissolve instantly, and they worked very fast. Castro's demise would look like a sudden natural illness. The CIA handed the pills over to the mafia. The mafia passed them to a Cuban official with access to Castro's food. The plan was in motion. The Cuban official placed the pills inside a freezer for safekeeping. He picked a time and day. All he had to do was slip the pills into Castro's chocolate milkshake. But at the last minute, the man chosen for the job made a stupid mistake.
When the would-be assassin went to retrieve the poisoned capsule from the freezer where he had hidden it, he found it frozen to the wall. His attempts to free the capsule caused it to rupture, scuppering the assassination attempts.
The pills were ruined. With no poison left to use, he called off the mission. After that, the mafia searched for someone else who could get close to Castro's food. But every plan failed before it could happen. In 1961, the assassination plan was officially abandoned. The CIA and mafia quietly went their separate ways. They believed the secret would be buried forever, but it didn't. Years later, an investigative journalist learned about the operation, and he published an expose in the newspaper. The CIA denied everything, but the truth was going to come out one way or another. In 1975, the CIA was accused of carrying out illegal activities, so the government set up a committee to investigate.
The United States must not adopt the tactics of the enemy. Means are as important as ends.
The investigation uncovered files that confirmed the CIA worked with the mafia. The story became front-page news. According to the files, the CIA met with 2 mob bosses during the negotiations. One was Chicago mob boss Sam Giancana. The other was Las Vegas mobster Johnny Rosselli. The committee called Sam Giancana to testify, but he never made it to the hearing. On June 19th, 1975, just days before his testimony, Giancana was found lifeless. He was assassinated in his home in Illinois. The timing was incredibly suspicious, but the committee moved on to its next witness, Johnny Rosselli. Thankfully, Rosselli managed to testify.
Rosselli was fully cooperative. For 2.5 hours, he told of plotting with the CIA starting in 1960 to try to kill Castro.
He told them about the meetings and the poison pills, everything. But speaking out was a fatal mistake. Shortly after his testimony, Rosselli disappeared. He was later found lifeless floating off the coast of Florida. But the truth was already out. Everyone knew the CIA secretly partnered with the mafia. Decades later, in 2007, more CIA documents were declassified. The files laid out the operation piece by piece. In our next chapter, a group of researchers ran a routine test and accidentally uncovered one of the biggest scandals in history: the toxic car conspiracy. Volkswagen looked like a company helping the planet. They claimed their cars released low emissions, making them better for the environment. Customers believed the message, but some researchers suspected it was all a lie. They believed Volkswagen cars were destroying the environment by releasing far more pollution than the company admitted. When they spoke up, nobody listened, so they went looking for proof. In 2013, a group of researchers decided to test Volkswagen's diesel cars. Volkswagen marketed those cars as clean diesel vehicles with low emissions. Here's one of their commercials.
Diesel in Latin means dirty. I'll prove it to you. You're gonna ruin your scarf. Oh, look what she's doing. See how clean it is?
The researchers took a Volkswagen Jetta to the lab and started their tests. It was a routine test. They did not expect to find anything strange. In the lab, the results were perfect. The car's emissions were low. Everything looked exactly how Volkswagen said it would. Then, the researchers took the car into the highway. That's when everything went wrong. On the road, the Jetta released emissions up to 40 times the legal limit. That meant it was more toxic than most cars on the road. The researchers were shocked because they tested the same car in the lab. And in the lab, the emissions were low. But on the road, it acted like a completely different car. The researchers double-checked their equipment by testing a BMW. The BMW's emissions stayed the same in the lab and on the road. But every time they tested a Volkswagen, the numbers changed. The cars seemed to lower their emissions in the lab. Then they seemed to raise them again on the road. There was only one explanation. Volkswagen somehow found a way to cheat the emissions test. The researchers dug deeper to understand how it worked. When they studied the car's software, software, they found what's known as a defeat device. This device could detect when the car was sitting still on a lab roller. Then it automatically reduced the car's emissions so it would pass the test. But once the car hit the road, it switched to normal mode, and the car released more pollution into the air. The researchers published their findings in May 2014. They accused Volkswagen of cheating emissions tests and lying to consumers. That scandal could have ruined the company. So Volkswagen replied immediately. But instead of admitting the problem, the company blamed the researchers for making mistakes.
They're pressing. They're pressing. Oh my, Gemini!
They took exception with our testing, with the way we approached it, with the conditions that we used.
For over a year, Volkswagen refused to admit anything was wrong. They insisted that their cars were environmentally friendly, but the researchers refused to back down.
And we said, fine, we're going to do it again. And we did it again and came with the same results.
This time they sent the results to the Environmental Protection Agency. The EPA reviewed it carefully. Then the EPA made a massive decision. They refused to approve Volkswagen's 2016 models for sale in the US. The executives at Volkswagen now had a choice: lose their entire American market or confess. On September 3rd, 2015, Volkswagen executives finally admitted the truth. The company installed software on its cars to cheat emissions tests.
Today, the company said it would recall 11 million diesel cars worldwide after admitting they had been rigged to cheat emissions tests.
For years, those cars pumped high levels of pollution into the air. And the whole time, Volkswagen claimed it was making clean, low-emission cars. It was a global scandal. Volkswagen CEO issued a public apology.
We are very sorry to have broken your trust. I think what they meant is we're very sorry to have lied to you.
During another speech, the CEO admitted to lying to authorities.
So let's be clear about this. Our company was dishonest with the EPA and the California Air Resources Board.
He eventually resigned. The company pleaded guilty to criminal charges. They paid over $30 billion in fines. It was one of the largest penalties ever handed to a car company. In the end, millions of people learned the truth. The car company they trusted was lying to them. Our next chapter is about a weapon the CIA built that could kill anyone, anywhere, and make it look completely natural. The heart attack conspiracy. For years, people claimed the CIA had a weapon that could give anyone a heart attack. All they had to do was point and pull the trigger. It was dismissed as a paranoid conspiracy theory. Later, the truth came out in the most shocking way. The heart attack gun was displayed on live TV for the whole world to see. In the early 1970s, the CIA had a problem. They wanted to eliminate people they considered threats, but they needed a method that could not be traced back to them. However, every option left evidence. A bullet could be traced. Poison could show up during an autopsy. They needed something cleaner. So they turned to a young CIA researcher named Mary Embry. Mary's bosses gave her one assignment.
They wanted me to find out if there was such a thing as a poison that was undetectable, especially one that seemed to mimic a heart attack.
They wanted a poison that left no trace. Even during an autopsy, Mary got to work. She tested dozens of toxins. Eventually, she found what she was looking for: shellfish toxin. In concentrated doses, it could shut down the human heart. And even better for the CIA, it could disappear from the body. The CIA took Mary's discovery and built a weapon around it. They froze the toxin into a tiny dart made of ice. Then they loaded that dart into a modified pistol. The gun made almost no sound when fired. When the dart hit someone, it felt like an insect bite. Most people would ignore that sensation, but inside the body, the damage would start instantly. The dart would melt, releasing the shellfish toxin into the bloodstream. The victim would experience a massive heart attack, and that would be the end. When doctors performed an autopsy, they would find no strange substances, just a tiny red dot where the dart entered the skin. Nobody would think much of it. The death would be listed as natural causes. The CIA now had an untraceable weapon, and they could take out anyone they wanted. It's not clear how many times the heart attack gun was used, but one thing is certain. The CIA stockpiled large amounts of shellfish toxins and hid them in a lab. The shellfish toxin was the untraceable poison used in the gun. Over the years, things changed. In the mid-1970s, the CIA came under investigation. Congress heard reports that the agency was involved in illegal activities, so they formed a committee to investigate the CIA. Senator Frank Church led the probe. He and his team found a stockpile of weapons and toxins inside CIA labs and warehouses. One of those weapons was the heart attack gun. Eventually, the CIA director was invited before a congressional committee to answer questions. The hearing was broadcast on live TV. During the questioning, the pistol was held up for the entire country to see. The CIA director was asked about the weapon.
Does this pistol fire the dart? Yes, it does, Mr. Chairman, and a special one was developed.
The country was shocked, and conspiracy theories were thrilled. There it was, proof that the CIA developed an illegal, untraceable assassination weapon. But one question has never been answered. Was it ever actually used successfully? The CIA never said, and they likely never will. Our next chapter raises a question. How much of what the news tells you is actually true? The CIA news conspiracy. The news is supposed to tell the truth, but people believe the government was secretly controlling the news that people heard, and they believe that certain journalists were actually government agents hired to push certain narratives and bury others. The government called it a conspiracy theory, but evidence began to show. It started with a student organization. In February 1967, it was revealed that the largest student group in the US was funded and run by the CIA. On the surface, the group looked independent. It presented itself as a friendly voice for young Americans. But behind the scenes, the CIA was quietly paying it to spread government propaganda to students. The agency also used students as spies. They were told to collect information from foreigners and pass it back to the CIA. The New York Times put the story on the front page. This revelation encouraged reporters to dig deeper. They wanted to find all the ways the CIA was secretly influencing the public. And then they stumbled onto something much bigger than they expected. In 1975, the New York Times suspected that some news reporters were secretly working with the CIA. When they investigated, they found out they were right. They discovered the CIA had a network of journalists inside major American newspapers and TV networks. The head of the CIA was called before Congress to answer for it. He admitted part of it was true.
We do have people who submit pieces to American journals.
Some journalists also admitted that the CIA contacted them to spread certain stories.
We had been contacted by the CIA. As a matter of fact, by the time I became the head of the whole News and Public Affairs operation in 1954, the ships had been established.
Congress identified over 50 active journalists on the CIA payroll, but the actual number was much larger. In 1977, another investigation revealed that over 400 American journalists carried out assignments for the CIA over a period of 25 years. These weren't small-time writers. They were evening news anchors, award-winning reporters, and Pulitzer Prize winners, people who ordinary Americans trusted deeply. CIA documents also revealed the agency could plant fake stories in foreign newspapers, and those same stories could be picked up by American media and reported it as real news.
This would mean that the CIA could manipulate the news in the United States by channeling it through some foreign country.
The CIA was essentially writing the news. It was such a big scandal that the president got involved. In 1977, a presidential order banned the CIA from using journalists. The message to the public was clear. It was over. It would not happen again. But not everyone believed that. Almost 20 years passed. In February 1996, a new CIA director appeared before a Senate committee. He was there to discuss threats to U.S. information systems. A senator asked him a direct question. Would the CIA promise to never recruit journalists again? The CIA director could not say yes. Instead, he gave an answer with a loophole.
The policy says that we will not use journalists except
under American journalists, except under very, very rare circumstances.
That meant the CIA could still recruit reporters to shape the news, as long as they felt it was justified. It's a disturbing reality, especially because the news could be lying to you right now. Our next chapter is about a poison that every single American was breathing and almost no one knew. The Ethel Conspiracy. In the 1950s, a scientist made a disturbing discovery. The average American had massive amounts of lead inside their body. Some people thought it was normal, but the scientist felt something far more dangerous was happening. He believed giant corporations were knowingly polluting air with toxic lead. But when he tried warning the public, those billion-dollar companies tried to ruin his life. The story began in the 1920s. Car companies discovered that adding lead to gasoline made engines run smoother. They called the new leaded gas ethyl. Car owners loved it. Selling ethyl was incredibly profitable, but there was a serious problem. Lead was toxic. In fact, lead was so toxic that workers in the leaded gas factories suffered hallucinations. Some even passed away from lead poisoning. Lead particles could spread through the air. Simply breathing too much could make people very sick. But the companies did not want to stop producing leaded gasoline. The business was making far too much money, so they refused to accept that lead was poisoning workers.
They knew that it was harmful. They tried to say that that didn't matter. They tried to blame the workers who got sick in their factories.
There was an even bigger issue. Cars using leaded gasoline released fumes that contained the lead. Those fumes dissolved into the air, and anyone who breathed that air also breathed in tiny amounts of lead. The car companies knew this could scare the public, so they tried to control the narrative. They wanted Americans to believe lead was safe. To do that, they hired scientists to defend lead. These scientists told the public that lead was naturally found inside the human body. They claimed that this proved it was safe. Most Americans believed it, and because of that, millions of people inhaled leaded gasoline fumes every single day without realizing the danger. But one scientist was about to uncover the truth. In the 1950s, Claire Patterson was a geochemist at the California Institute of Technology. He was trying to calculate the exact age of the Earth by studying ancient rocks, but he kept running into a strange problem. Every sample he tested was contaminated with lead. There was lead in the air, lead in the dust, lead in the rocks, lead everywhere. The contamination was impossible to ignore. Where was all this lead coming from?
Good days start with homemade breakfast sandwiches. Technically, so can bad days.
Then Patterson made another discovery. Americans had 100 times more lead in their blood than ancient humans. Somehow this toxic chemical was almost everywhere in America. Patterson decided to go public. In 1965, he published a scientific paper explaining his findings. He made one thing very clear. Lead was dangerous to humans. Funding was cut off. He was blocked from government meetings where environmental decisions were made. Patterson was smeared in the media. They painted him as a conspiracy theorist spreading science fiction. At the same time, the companies hired scientists to travel around the country claiming lead was harmless. For a while, it seemed they won. But they still wanted Patterson on their side, so the lead industry offered him research funding if he stopped criticizing them. It was basically a bribe, but Patterson refused to back down. He kept collecting evidence, he kept speaking out, and eventually Patterson got his moment. In 1966, Patterson testified before the US Senate. He arrived with overwhelming evidence. He showed the Senate the data from ancient ice cores. He explained how the ice from thousands of years ago was completely clean, while modern snow was 200% more toxic. He explained how lead damaged the human brain and nervous system, and how it caused learning disabilities in children and violent behavior in adults. Again and again, Patterson proved that lead pollution was man-made, and it was poisoning everyone from factory workers to school kids. His conclusion was clear. The amount of lead in the air skyrocketed after leaded gasoline was introduced. This time, the government listened. They began restricting leaded gasoline. By 1996, the use of leaded gasoline for vehicles was banned in the US, and the results were impossible to ignore. After the ban, lead levels in Americans' blood dropped by 78%. The companies profiting from leaded gasoline knew the dangers from the beginning, but they chose profits over public safety. And one man fought a billion-dollar industry to save the health of a nation. So the next time you go to a gas station and see the word unleaded, now you know why. My friends, the most dangerous thing you can do is trust blindly. Always do your own research and think critically about what you see and hear, and never stop seeking the truth. Visual Venture.
Alright, you guys. That was weird, sorry. Alright, you guys, that... Yo, chat. Like, that was very, very, very interesting. You guys like that stuff? I could definitely do that. Did we do this already? Yeah. The next one is this. So we could do this on, see, tomorrow, Monday, after Monday. I don't know. Well, what day? Probably Tuesday. I would do it whenever I get home. So we could definitely do this with him. Oh my gosh, that was really interesting. You guys like this? Like, comment down below. You guys like this? Please like, share, comment, subscribe. Don't forget to hit that bell button to stream my YouTube channel, Only Decker Live channel, Only Decker Rapping, and Only Decker Games 2022. 18 plus only. Don't forget to hit that bell button and hit the like button. And subscribe. Don't forget to hit the bell button and stuff. Now we're gonna look at this on what day I will show you guys. That day on the 4th. So we're gonna check that out on the 4th and see what this is about. So don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe to all of them, and I'll be back on here. Have a great, wonderful day. I'll be back on here to look at people live in Disney World. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe. You guys like this stuff. I know I do. It's very, very interesting. Yeah. So don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe. And hit that bell button to stream my YouTube channel, 18 plus only. And I will see you guys. Back over again. So have a great, wonderful day.